Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. After leaving WWE at SummerSlam this year, the wrestling world speculated what was next for Renee Paquette, the older version of Renee Young. The answer was first, a cookbook. Secondly, her new podcast called Oral Sessions. I Hear Your Mum is the first guest, and in the biggest project announcement yet, now birthing a human child. Oh, it's baby time. Who's your big baby? As her AEW champion husband, Jon Moxley, slyly revealed on Dynamite last night with the throwaway line, "I've got a pregnant wife at home," Renee then confirmed the news with a cute Instagram post of her and Mox celebrating the news. Though we weren't the first to know. As Renee revealed on Twitter, she thought she was texting baby updates to Moxley, but was accidentally sending them to Bayley. How do you get those mixed up? Who's your Bayley? With Roman Reigns having twins back in March and Seth Rollins expecting his debut child next month with Becky Lynch, could that mean Shield Baby's spin-off? But will they go to WWE or to the potentially mega alliance of AEW and Impact? In recent months, Impact Wrestling has had an increasing presence on AEW programming. First, it was Impact co-executive vice president Don Callis appearing on video packages, talking up Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, and then actually cameoing on commentary for the latter's Full Gear match against Hangman Page. And then on last night's episode, we got current Impact creative team member Conan cameo in the Inner Circle's Las Vegas trip with his former LAX members Santana and Ortiz. And on top of that, current Impact tag team the Motor City Machine Guns were name-dropped by new AEW team Top Flight as an influence on the show, which Alex Shelley responded to on Twitter with, "But I do want to put this out there, Chris Sabin and myself versus Young Bucks versus Top Flight, 3 generations of tag team wrestling, Impact Wrestling or AEW, don't care." The Young Bucks mates Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson also hold significant sway backstage in Impact, as Bullet Club is 444 life. And Tony Khan did tease last week the balance of wrestling power will be shifting. Do you think we'll see an AEW and Impact partnership happening? Let me know in the comments down below. Meanwhile, this year's WWE draft is still seemingly in flux. Whether it's Survivor Series being promoted around brand warfare when the majority of talent have only just switched brands, or Drew McIntyre randomly showing up on SmackDown, the idea of a draft is somehow becoming even more undermined than usual. And now, there's been another change. In the very final announced pick on Raw Talk following the second night of the draft, NXT's Arturo Ruas was drafted to Raw. He hasn't appeared on the show at all since though, and last night he turned back up on NXT to face Kushida, with NXT's Twitter even going so far as to tweet out, "He's back next," as if they hadn't just drafted him to the main roster at all. Whether he's been officially moved back to NXT, or this is some sort of cross-brand invitational wildcard rule brand warfare extravaganza, whack-bat, we're yet to find out. And now it's time for a review of last night's episode of AEW Dynamite in about 5 minutes. Thanks for your support on Patreon, the British Bulldog Philip Boy J. Smith Jr. and Ryan Bisco Stewart. The show opened with Retribution invading Dynamite, oh my god! Oh no wait, it's the new AEW signees Top Flight. A video package told us a bit more about them, while my main takeaway was how they grew up watching the Young Bucks and the Motor City Machine Guns, and I'm so goddamn old. They looked pretty good against the tag team champions, the Young Bucks, with all the flips. And they were immediately given something to do on Dark, with Hybrid 2 attacking them in the post-match angle. We got a great trailer for Director X's upcoming AEW documentary film History of a Revolution, but before that's fully released, we're getting AEW's version of The Hangover. Split across 2 segments, the Inner Circle's trip to Las Vegas was as funny as you'd expect, based around Sammy hating MJF, and MJF and Jericho trying to one-up each other's alcoholic consumption, which made them so drunk, Conan appeared from Impact Wrestling, Chris Jericho's drunken topless brother turned up, and we got the newest addition to the Inner Circle, Elvis. And waking up the next morning, MJF had writing all over his face, Sammy had gotten married 3 times, and they even had a baby, with the cliffhanger ending of finding Hornswoggle in a diaper. Just another diaper. It set a hard act to follow for Kip Sabian's bachelor party, which still hasn't happened. Mero promised it would take place soon while commentating on Kip's loss to Orange Cassidy. Mero clobbered Cassidy afterwards to continue this feud that still hasn't really caught fire. After Game of Thrones became synonymous with disappointing ending since it finished last year, the Mox vs Omega feud using the "Winter is Coming" tagline feels a bit dated, but everything else was unsurprisingly awesome. Moxley cut a fantastic promo providing a rare glimpse into his personal history, saying he's the way he is because of his dad, a really touching sentiment given Renee's just announced pregnancy, but he was knocked unconscious backstage by a mystery attacker, which is presumably self-declared #1 contender Lance Archer. Can he still sign the contract alone in the ring? But unfortunately, it brought a Japanese pen with him, as it no-selled him right in his own name. From his very first move, a shotgun dropkick to the corner, I realised just how much I'd missed watching Pac wrestle for the last 8 months. The way he strikes is so different to everyone else, as though he snaps rather than moves. Pac overcame loads of interference from Ali and the Butcher, and his own personal ring rust to make Blade tap in the Brutalizer. But because AEW is all about those factions, Eddie Kingston, Butcher and the Blade beat him up afterwards, leading to Phoenix and then Pentagon to make the save, reuniting Death Triangle. It's a shame we didn't get a longer run for the 5-man version of Kingston's family, but this all may serve a larger Trios Championship purpose. Then came one of the most shocking developments in AEW for the whole of 2020. They actually built their women's division. Firstly, the enormous Jade Cargill beat up Brandy backstage, stomping her arm in a chair while Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero stopped others from helping, which is a storyline. And then not only did we get the best women's TV match in months, with Serena Deeb defending her NWA women's title against Thunder Rosa, they also set up another storyline feud as Britt Baker attacked Rosa following their Twitter spat, arguably costing her the match. And remembering they had their own AEW Women's Championship afterwards, John Silver hyped up Anna Jay's title match against Shida for next week, meaning hopefully all this development won't just be forgotten in favour of a random Taya Conti versus Red Velvet match. AEW does have the talent, a lack of depth has never been their issue, just their excuse. Nyla Rose, Shida, Rosa, Deeb and Baker are more than enough to create a competitive women's division. Darby Allin debuted his latest black and white short film of his leg on fire in a church because of the pain and the religion, after which he went on to tag with Cody Rhodes against Team Taz's Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Taz interfered during the JR-approved picture-in-picture ad break. Seriously, he loves those goddamn things, which let Cage and Starks work over Cody, but Brian did not have any time for Darby's eventual hot tag or his own tag partner when he hit an insane double German suplex on both men following their brief triple spoon. Even in the main event, gotta make time for Snuggles. Cage looked great here, and surprisingly it was him who got the win, with new champion Darby taking the pin, hitting a second rope drill claw for the win, surely setting up Cage as the #1 contender for the TNT title. But I could totally understand why they'd want to take a different route, because the show finished with an excellent heel turn reveal. After 2 months of being involved in the TNT title picture and weeks of not answering Taz's offer to join his team, Will Hobbs ran down for the babyface save of Cody and Darby getting beaten up in the post-match. He threw down the chair in a great bit of misdirection and posed with the FTW title they'd left in the ring to hit Cody over the head with it and join Team Taz. It explains why Hobbs has been so late to save Cody and Darby in recent weeks, makes Team Taz an even more formidable force, and sets up yet another 3-man unit for those planned AEW 6-man titles. What did you think of AEW Dynamite? Let me know in the comments down below, and follow us on Twitter at WrestleTalk_TV to give your rating, where a massive 46.5% thought the show was excellent, with Foxy Grandpa praising, finally gave the women something to do, and that final bit with Team Taz was so perfectly what I loved in wrestling when I was a kid, that late 90s full-on faction warfare stuff, exquisite. I am invested. And I agree. The Las Vegas skits were funny, the in-ring wrestling was great, the women's division finally feels like it's actually doing something, and there were 2 great reveals in Pentagon and Hobbs. This week's Dynamite is an excellent 4 out of 4. There are many ways to support us here at WrestleTalk, but one of the best ones is to check out our sponsors, SurfShark VPN, which is an amazing app that we will use here to not only make our internet browsing secure, but also to trick your laptop, smartphone or tablet into thinking it's in another country, which is a great way to access shows you can't get, and in my case, being able to read Tom King's excellent Batman comics run on the DC Universe app that's only available in the States. Please at least check them out using the link at the top of the video description below and use our promo code WrestleTalk to get a massive 83% off and 3 months free, meaning 2 whole years will cost you under $60. Find out the cancelled Roman Reigns plans by clicking the video on the right and watch WrestleTalk's massive Survivor Series predictions with the all authority of myself, Chopper Pete and Louis Dangor, taking on Lukewarm Luke Owen, Adam Blompier, and El Fakador Laurie Blake for the Jam That Championship at this Sunday's live reactions. And please do check out Surfshark too. I've been Mr. Davis. VPN, that VPN.